Welcome to class. In this lecture, I would like to provide you with an overview of key concerns facing women and girls around the world. Stratification and inequality by gender differs greatly by country, and regional variations within a country can be significant. Tremendous poverty in a country can exist side by side with wealth and privilege. India, for example, has immense problems with poverty, yet they also have the largest middle-class population in the world. Many women in India are making tremendous advances. However, the focus of this lecture is on the problems facing women. Some of the key concerns are poverty, literacy, AIDS, child marriage, and violence. We will look at the role education can play in alleviating these problems. As you see from the slide, women make up half the world's population, yet constitute 70% of the world's poor. This is a reality for a variety of reasons. If a choice needs to be made, families will privilege boys' education over girls. Many fields are deemed inappropriate for women, and they are kept as men's jobs. Women may be paid less for the same work. They are also frequently located in the informal sector where pay can be low, and they may be vulnerable to exploitation such as sexual harassment. Many cultures value men more than women. Cultural norms put more value on male children. The male children are perceived to be the future providers, while some will look upon girls as a financial burden. In a variety of countries such as China and India, we see the problem of infanticide exists. Infanticide may occur by leaving a baby to die or by other means. If you take into account sex-selective abortion, the number is much higher. As a result of poverty and early marriage, women are vulnerable to dying in childbirth. 99% of women who die in childbirth live in developing countries. At the root of these problems lies illiteracy and a lack of education. 50 million of the 72 million children currently not enrolled in primary school are girls, and 2/3 of the nearly 800 million adults who lack basic literacy skills are women. Without education, women cannot get jobs and they have little control over their lives. They can be married off at a young age. If their husband dies and the in-laws are not kind, women will be very vulnerable to poverty and homelessness. Without the ability to support themselves, women experiencing domestic violence have little ability to escape. Women are not able to reach their full potential without education. All of this lost potential takes a toll on society as well. How might all of these girls have contributed to science, health, literature, and welfare? According to the United Nations Population Fund, more than 100 million girls are expected to marry in the next decade. Child marriage has decreased globally over the last 30 years, but it continues to be practiced in rural areas. Here before you, you see some of the characteristics of child marriage. There are large spousal age gaps. So some boys are married at a young age, but in general there tends to be a significant age gap between the female child and her spouse. Limited social support, limited educational attainment, and no schooling options. There's intense pressure to become pregnant, which early pregnancies often result in higher rates of maternal or infant mortality. Married girls are at an increased vulnerability to HIV and other STDs. They experience restricted mobility and freedom of movement. They have little access to modern media and a lack of skills to be viable in the labor market. In other words, a girl who is married young has a few options if she would like to change her situation. Here before you, you see a chart of early marriage. It gives you a glimpse into where the rates tend to be high. According to a UNICEF 2005 study in Southern Asia, 48%, nearly 10 million of young women were married before the age of 18. In Africa, 42% were married before turning 18. In Latin America and the Caribbean, 29% of young women were married by age 18. Here you see that early marriage is associated with low education and no education. A higher age of marriage is conversely associated with higher levels of education. Child marriage, education, and cultural norms are all related to the spread of AIDS. According to the Girl Effect, 75% of 15 to 24-year-olds living with HIV in Africa are female. This is up from 62% in 2001. Cultural norms frequently increase the likelihood of the spread of AIDS. Girls are supposed to be innocent of sex. Child marriage leads to unprotected sex. Men are not held to the same rules as girls. Multiple partners are more accepted for men. Concepts of masculinity decrease the likelihood that men will use condoms. In many societies, gay sex is a taboo. This makes it more likely that men will have relations with other men, but they will have a wife as well. Unfortunately, the low status of women contributes to rape. In countries torn apart by war, rape becomes all the more common and the rates can be very high. Domestic violence is a universal problem. Population-based studies report from 12 to 25% of women have experienced, attempted, or completed forced sex by an intimate partner or ex-partner at some point in their lives. In every country where reliable studies have been conducted, between 10 and 69% have been physically abused by an intimate partner in their lifetime. This brings us back to the role education can play. The Girl Effect, which you went to their website earlier in our class, the Girl Effect presents many statistics that show the link between education and decreasing these social problems. Education increases the age of marriage, a woman's ability to earn an income, improves the status of her family, and the health of the woman and her children. With education, women and their children have a greater quality of life and more options. Here are some of the interesting statistics highlighted by the Girl Effect. When a girl in the developing world receives 7 or more years of education, she marries 4 years later and has 2.2 fewer children. An extra year of primary school boosts eventual wages by 10 to 20%. An extra year of secondary school boosts wages by 15 to 25%. Research in developing countries has shown a consistent relationship between better infant and child health and higher level of schooling among mothers. And finally, when women and girls earn income, they reinvest 90% of it into their families as compared to only 30 to 40% for a man. Thank you. That's it for now.